So the challenge going into the first corner is, this is the hardest part, that you're steering whilst braking so hard. And when you're steering and braking so hard, it really like unloads the inside front a lot, because you're putting lateral load on the car. And so that's so hard to then have confidence in the braking. Okay, so this is the braking into turn one. So you can see how much of a corner that still is as you start braking. You know, you're still steering so much and you're arriving again with like 290. So it's like such a hard braking, and it's very, very hard as a result that it's still a corner. And then there used to be like a big bump in the first part of braking just on the road. And for some reason, oui, bonjour. Okay, so I apologize to the police. They had said that I can just take the mask off for 2 seconds whilst I'm filming for you guys. Anyways, and then this one, the braking zone really benefited my style of braking, which was just bang on the brakes, super hard, and then start to go off. And Lewis, he always went like more carefully on the brakes to really try and feel the limit as he was coming on. And therefore he lost like a bit of deceleration in this first part because the track was just so suited for my style. And then in 2014 or 15, I can't remember what year, they changed the asphalt and they removed that first like bump or whatever it was, and my style didn't work anymore. Like when I did bang, the front wheel would always lock up, and it just ruined the whole corner for me. And I would make up like almost 1.5, 2 tenths on Lewis here in this turn one braking every time, and then it ruined it for me. And that's why it was then I wasn't on pole anymore in 2015. It was just much more difficult. Important here, I mean, yeah, it's third gear, so important is brake, but still carry the speed through. And then how you take the inside curb is also important. If you take too much, it throws you off. If you don't take enough, you don't get tight enough around the corner. So there's all these different things that play a role. And then exit, run it up to the barrier and up the hill, flat out into 7th gear all the way up. And you're braking into your 7th gear probably here. Now totally blind over the crest, huh? And here, don't hug the inside. Then very late you can start touching the curb here. Then back to the middle of the track. And, well, not quite, and then cut back for this late apex here. It's very important to get this apex right, because that's the one that's going to help you stay all the way left. And then 4th gear for the next one, and then just try and carry as much speed through here, touch the curb on the inside. Again, blind on the exit, so go as far possible, but you need to keep steering on the exit because you've got this bump, which you need to avoid, otherwise it's going to unload the rear end. And then down here is the most difficult braking, or because it's downhill, and so you can brake a lot less hard because you're downhill. And the track drops away on the inside, so you lock the front end a lot. So it's really, really difficult braking here. So you just kind of go over the drop, carry the speed in there. 2nd gear, hug the inside, finish the braking here, and then turn, and so quite late end of braking, and then turn and get back on the power. And then here, straight line it from 3rd gear down into 1st. Maximum steering, so you change your hands for the steering wheel here. What I used to do is I just used to take that and push it down. But I would used to leave my left hand on the steering as well. And you'll see that Lewis does it very differently. What he does is also push the steering wheel down there, I think, or maybe even he just keeps it normal. No, I think he does push as well. But then he puts his left hand onto his leg. So he disconnects his left hand from the steering wheel. So you'll see it go on his leg. So it's quite different. Quite interesting, and it's because it's such a high steering angle that you just can't keep your hands in place. So accelerating back out here, left as quickly as possible to get a good angle for the next one, upshift to 2nd. Here you'd think you could, well, why don't you run all the way to the wall on the right? But on that pavement it's very low grip and it's very uneven, so the fastest is still to keep the left hand side of the car on the tarmac, and then you run up over the curb a little bit with the right hand side here. Again, go all the way out to the left. And here you would think stay left and then cut in late to get a good run out and the exit, but actually it's weird how this corner, it's much quicker to just dive quite narrow into the corner because there seems to be more grip, and then you carry it wide and you get later on the power, but you've made up so much time on the entry that it's just a faster way around this corner. And these are all the little secrets that you only learn with time. So that's the way to do that corner. And now we go through the tunnel. Totally blind, but easy flat nowadays. Standing here now at the tunnel exit, you can see there, and it's 300 kilometers an hour with a Formula One car, or just over 310. So you come out there, you stay to the left, as I say, and now let's come down together here because we're going into the driver's perspective. You're sitting very, very low. So you can see the track just drops away right at the 100-meter board, which is where you hit the brakes. The track drops away totally, so A, you can't see the braking properly until you get there. B, as you're hitting the brakes, it drops away, so you get your tires light, and that's where my crash happened, because just as I was light, I braked too hard, locked the rear wheels, bam, and the car went off into the barrier, and then I was like spinning all the way down So it's a very, very dangerous and difficult situation to manage, but if you get it right, you also gain a lot of time. So this is a very, very difficult part of the track. So late braking here from 8th gear into 2nd gear at around 80 meters, and then turn in quite early, carry the speed, go deep, and then slowest point is here now, turn and try and get the best exit. And here's interesting, for example, don't try and follow the track, but first straight line it to get the best traction down, and not use any grip for the lateral. So you straight line it, look, it looks a bit weird. You go straight, traction, and here you end of the traction limited phase, so this is the point where you then finally do the turning without losing any time because you're not traction limited anymore. It's very subtle, you won't really see that, but it's small things that really do make a difference. And then here now, very, very fast section, of course. The fastest section, you arrive in 6th gear, you downshift into 5th. Really, really fast here, no room for error. This corner nowadays, because there's so much grip on the F1 cars, is easy flat. And then here, very difficult. So hit the brakes, and then it's a very fast entry, and it just gets slower and slower and slower. Careful not to hit the arm core there on the entry, and then slower and slower, and finish braking here. Now you can get back on power. Very difficult to get this curb right here to know how much you take, because if you take a little bit too much, you bottom out and it throws you into the barrier, which has happened loads of times. I think 2 times in a row for Max Verstappen in subsequent years. Max Verstappen, who has the best lap time also on this track, so the lap record so far from 2018. Okay, 3rd gear here, and now we get into the last 2 corners, which are very slow. Okay, here we're in the legendary Rascasse corner, and look at the braking. So it's all cornering all the time, so you're like laterally loaded, which makes the braking so difficult because you're loaded that way and then you're still braking, and then you have to start steering the other way. So it's like a snake form braking, which makes it very, very tough. You try and straight line it as much as possible, so straight line, brake as deep as possible, and then in the very end, boom, steer. And then of course totally blind, you can't see anything, so you steer and you only touch the 2nd apex. The 1st apex you miss, the 2nd one, that's the one you need to hit and get as close as possible, and then on the power, of course, and get a beautiful run out along the barriers there to stay very wide for the last corner then, which is just important to get a good exit. And then shortest path possible to the end of the lap. So you really hug the inside here to get to the line as quickly as possible. Bang!